ごめんなさい。
早く来て。怖いから。
This is without a doubt one of the creepiest S-tier horror films ever made. It not only perfectly captures the essence of Japanese horror, but also dares to dig deep into the filth and malice buried within human nature, with every single shot soaked in an unsettling atmosphere that refuses to fade. Friendly reminder, this film is intense from start to finish, so tag that unlucky friend of yours and watch it together. The story takes place on the daytime of Christmas Eve, when a man carrying an old leather bag heads into the mountains to hang himself. And inside that bag is a cursed human head, with strands of hair slowly creeping out. So what exactly is going on? We have to rewind the clock to a few hours earlier. A delivery driver is on his way to Atsushi's house to deliver a cake that was ordered the night before, but when the driver arrives and rings the doorbell for quite a while, no one comes to open the door. Just as he is about to leave, the front door suddenly opens without a sound. The driver doesn't think much of it and steps inside, but the moment he enters, a chill runs down his spine. The empty hallway, the cold walls, the entire house feels lifeless and completely silent, so he quickly calls out for someone to take the cake, hoping to leave this eerie place as soon as possible. After shouting until his voice is nearly gone, someone finally appears. However,
今ちょっと手が離せなくて、すぐ行きますから。
はい。
10 minutes pass and the woman doesn't come out. Then another 10 minutes pass and she still doesn't show up. The driver is in a hurry to get to his next delivery, so he urges her again.
すいません。
は
お題の方ですけど、ファミリーサイズですん
ーい。
で。
今ちょっと手が離せなくて、すぐ行きますから。今ちょっと手が離せなくて、すぐ行きますから。
This strange situation makes him curious, so he places the cake by the door and decides to take a look into the kitchen to see what the woman is doing. But when he reaches the kitchen, he finds the refrigerator wide open, clearly a scene of someone in the middle of cooking, yet the woman has mysteriously vanished. Everything about this feels indescribably eerie. Just as the driver is puzzled, he suddenly hears the sound of running water coming from the bathroom. Not wanting to waste water, he immediately goes to the bathroom to turn off the faucet, but the moment he looks up, he sees a shadow behind the shower curtain. Without hesitation, he pulls the curtain open, only to find a bathtub that is burned pitch black. The driver stares in disbelief. Could it be that this family likes bathing with fire? At the same time, a little girl with a backpack walks past behind him.
ねえ
He quickly follows after her, but the girl has no intention of acknowledging him. Instead, she rushes into her room and shuts the door behind her. This rude behavior irritates the driver a little. He already delivered the cake to your house. Why won't anyone come sign for it and pay? In frustration, he opens the door, only to witness a horrifying scene. The little girl is indeed there, but only her lifeless body remains, still clutching a teddy bear in her hand. The driver is so frightened that he bolts out the door and stumbles his way down to the first floor. To his surprise, he hears the woman's voice again.
今ちょっと手が離せなくて、すぐ行きますから。
He rushes downstairs, wanting to tell her what happened to the girl, but the moment he reaches the kitchen, he sees the woman lying in front of the refrigerator, with blood spread all over the floor. This time, the driver is completely terrified, but something even more frightening is right behind him. Meanwhile, Akane is on her way to school in her father's taxi, but when she gets out, she touches something sticky. Her father thinks it might be something left behind by a previous passenger, so he hands her a handkerchief and tells her to wipe her hands and go to school, saying he will clean it up later. What is this substance? Even he can't tell. It looks a bit like glue and is quite difficult to clean. Just as the father is struggling to clean it, a call suddenly comes from dispatch, saying there is an issue with a passenger he picked up earlier, and now the police have arrived at the company wanting to ask him some questions. They don't reveal any details over the phone and say it must be discussed in person. The father starts to think, which passenger could it be? When he glances at the rearview mirror, the passenger suddenly appears in the back seat, startling him. But when he turns around, there is nothing there, only the passenger's bag left in the car. This is very strange. When he was cleaning earlier, there was clearly nothing there, so how did it suddenly appear? Curious, he opens the bag to take a look, only to find a human head inside. Since that Christmas Eve, the father has disappeared, leaving only Akane and her mother to rely on each other. 7 years pass in the blink of an eye, and Akane has become a high school student. One day, while she is painting in the art room, 2 of her friends come over and invite her to play a coin spirit game. This game is similar to a spirit calling ritual, using a coin to summon an entity that can answer questions, even calling upon the spirits of the dead. What they want is to contact the dead, and Mayumi suggests summoning Akane's father. After hearing this, Yuka scolds Mayumi, saying it is inappropriate and disrespectful. After all, Akane's father is only missing, not confirmed dead. But Akane is not angry. After being missing for 7 years, he can legally be considered dead, and she does not avoid the topic at all. However, as soon as the game begins, Akane feels that something is not right. The coin seems to move slightly.
私じゃないよ。
未来。
未来って過去とか未来の未来？
Hearing this, she is startled, and when she looks down again, there is an extra finger. A spirit has moved the coin. Akane is nearly terrified out of her mind and immediately runs out of the classroom, refusing to continue the game no matter what, because Akane has psychic abilities and can see spirits. Mayumi and Yuka are unable to see the little girl. They wanted to ask Akane what was going on, but no matter how many times they called, she didn't pick up. Yuka guessed that maybe Akane got upset because they mentioned her father earlier, but Mayumi believed Akane wasn't the kind of person to get upset over something like that, so there had to be another reason why she suddenly ran off. As they were talking, Mayumi suddenly remembered she had left something in the classroom, so she went back to get it and told Yuka to wait there. With nothing to do, Yuka went to the restroom, and just as she finished and was about to leave, she heard a sound behind her. It was an elementary school girl walking into the last stall, but this was a high school. Where would an elementary school girl come from? Curious, Yuka stepped closer to take a look, but the restroom was completely empty. A chill ran down Yuka's spine, and just as she turned to close the door, an old woman holding a basketball suddenly appeared right in front of her. The deaths of Yuka and her father were actually blamed on Akane, but the real cause behind everything was Mirai's uncle, Atsushi. Atsushi was originally a gentle and upright man, but ever since they moved into a new house, he gradually became twisted. The whole family bought a haunted house. The family had chosen this house despite the bright cross hanging on the exterior wall, and Atsushi believed his strong energy and knowledge of law would protect him. Thinking a haunted house couldn't possibly affect him, the whole family happily moved in, not knowing that this house had once belonged to one of Japan's most notorious spirits, and it was rumored that 17 people had already lost their lives there. But after the renovation, there was no visible trace of anything unusual. Yet on the very first day they moved in, Atsushi saw a strange woman inside the house. He curiously followed her, but like a game of hide and seek, she vanished in the blink of an eye. In the empty room where she disappeared, there was only a full-length mirror covered with cloth, seemingly left behind by the previous owner. Driven by curiosity, Atsushi pulled off the cloth, and in the next moment, it was as if something took over his mind, making him unable to resist reaching out to touch it. Just as Atsushi was still shaken, his niece Mirai walked in.
どうしたの?
The way Atsushi looked at Mirai suddenly became unsettling. After they left, the expression Atsushi had just shown seemed to remain imprinted in that mirror. From that moment on, Atsushi was like a completely different person, and his behavior toward Mirai became increasingly inappropriate. One day, Akane came to visit her good friend Mirai, and the moment she stepped inside, she felt something was off.
未来ちゃん、この家。
At that moment, the grandmother suddenly looked at Akane, her eyes filled with warning, frightening Akane so much that she didn't dare to say anything. After the grandmother left, Mirai hesitantly told her friend about her uncle's secret.
お風呂から出ると下着なくなってたりとか。お母さんとか知ってるの？どうして？言えないよ。一 一緒に住んでるのに。
Mirai wanted to say more, but Atsushi suddenly barged in. His intention was obvious as he headed straight toward Mirai. Frightened, Mirai thought it was because of the basketball, but Atsushi didn't care about that at all, and instead told Akane that it was time for her to go home. When Akane refused to leave, Atsushi forcefully dragged her. The moment they made contact, Akane immediately sensed something was wrong and told Mirai that there was something strange about her house. Before she could finish her sentence, Atsushi threw her out. From the yard, Akane could still see Mirai crying on the second floor, looking incredibly pitiful, but Akane was too young and powerless to change anything, so all she could do was cry and say she was sorry. Afterward, Atsushi put on the appearance of a refined and gentle man, showing not the slightest bit of shame for what he had done, and shockingly, not a single person in this large family noticed what Mirai was going through. All they cared about was Atsushi's future. Atsushi studied day and night, putting on the image of a top student, yet the harsh reality was that he failed the bar exam again for the 4th time. His father was furious. His stepsister mocked him arrogantly, while his stepmother had nothing to say in response. Atsushi's original family was already chaotic, and Mirai's birth was even more unfortunate. Her mother gave birth to her at 16, before even reaching adulthood, yet acted as if the child wasn't hers at all, showing no care from the very beginning. So even though her mother lived in the same house, to Mirai, it was as if she barely existed. The twisted family, the harsh treatment from relatives, the uncertainty of his future, and the darkness within his heart, combined with the unsettling atmosphere of the house, slowly eroded Atsushi's mind day after day. Finally, on a late night when he was on the verge of breaking down from studying, he picked up a baseball bat, quietly entered his father's room, and struck him down in one blow. Then he went to his grandmother's bedroom, where the old woman was happily playing dress-up, completely unaware that Atsushi had come up behind her, and in an instant, her life was taken. Next, his stepmother, who was idling in the kitchen, saw Atsushi walk in and thought he was just looking for something to eat. But as she opened the fridge, Atsushi suddenly attacked her with a kitchen knife. The only one left was his talkative younger sister, and when Atsushi walked into the living room, he struck her hard, leaving her mouth covered in blood. He then grabbed his sister by the hair, dragged her into the bathtub, poured a bucket of gasoline over her, and lit a match, ending her life in a brutal way. After that, Atsushi went upstairs to Mirai's room. Even though the little girl had locked her bedroom door tightly in advance, it was still forced open by Atsushi. He dragged Mirai onto the bed, then climbed on top of her and began cutting wildly with a saw, eventually separating her head and putting it into a bag. He then left in a taxi with the bag, and the stain on the back seat came from that moment. At the same time, a delivery driver was on his way to Atsushi's house with the cake he had ordered. After arriving at a small wooded area, Atsushi planned to take his own life, and after placing the rope around his neck, he hesitated for a moment. Unexpectedly, a voice from Mirai came from inside the bag.
早く来て。怖いから。
ごめんなさい。
After Atsushi's death, the delivery driver experienced a series of terrifying events, though he eventually just fainted from fear. When he woke up, he was already at the police station, mumbling to himself. At that moment, the delivery driver still didn't realize that he had been caught in a curse. After his girlfriend took him home, he received a gift from her, and it turned out to be Christmas Eve. But just as his girlfriend picked up a knife to cut the cake, the delivery driver suddenly remembered the 2 bodies he had seen at Atsushi's house, and he rushed to the bathroom, unable to stop retching. Seeing his reaction, his girlfriend felt heartbroken and quickly pulled him into her arms. But after a moment, he began to feel a chilling coldness coming from her body, as if she were no longer the same person. When he looked closely, his girlfriend had turned into that eerie old woman. Terrified by the scene, he scrambled into a corner in panic, but the old woman's spirit had no intention of letting him go, and rushed toward him while holding a basketball. In desperation, the delivery driver grabbed a fruit knife from the table and stabbed forward without hesitation. But when he came back to his senses, he realized the person he had stabbed was actually his girlfriend. However, the delivery driver could no longer distinguish reality from illusion, and believing he was still trapped in the vision, he thought his girlfriend was the spirit in disguise. So he lunged forward and stabbed her several more times, leaving her lifeless. 7 years passed in the blink of an eye, and Akane, who had once run away and left Mirai behind, had grown into a young woman, but Mirai's spirit continued to linger by her side, holding resentment over why Akane didn't find a way to save her back then, and as a result, she harmed Akane's father and those close to her. Mirai would also appear from time to time, deliberately frightening Akane. Thinking back on what happened, the guilt and sorrow in Akane's heart had long surpassed the fear she felt when encountering these visions. Perhaps sensing these emotions, Mirai quietly disappeared, leaving behind only a doll as her silent forgiveness. And that is where the story ends. The eerie presence of the house may have ignited the chain of events, but it was never the true root of the tragedy. What truly dragged human nature into darkness was the deeply broken foundation of the family itself. The father's overwhelming expectations weighed down like a crushing burden, while the indifference of the rest of the family created an invisible barrier, slowly pushing the once gentle and upright Atsushi toward the edge of mental collapse. His circumstances may invite a trace of sympathy, but they can never justify the harm he caused. Using harm to others as a way to release pressure is, at its core, a weak and selfish form of escape, and a disregard for life itself. Such extreme and cruel choices will only lead to condemnation, and can never erase the weight of the actions committed.